We are joined by Gary Sweet, the Luton Town Chief Executive. Good morning, Gary.
Morning, Sean.
Morning, Gary.
Gary, great to have you on the show, and great to have somebody who can talk to us about the whole range of football, going right back to the non-league days, all the way up to the Premier League. It's been some journey for Luton Town, and you've been there all the way.
Yeah, I was also there on the downfall, actually. When we
I gave you too much credit, Gary.
So let's not forget that. So we had to spend sort of 5 years in the fifth tier of English football to recover. So that was really our grounding, but it was a fantastic period.
So tell us, how long have you been in charge at Luton? And tell us all the emotions you've gone through and the feelings when you went down and the feelings when you were climbing back up again.
My gosh, that's.
I know it's a wide-ranging question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when we first officially took sort of custodianship of the football club, that's myself and the fellow directors. In 2008, we were sort of involved with the administrator a little bit before that, but first officially took over to control actually about 4 or 5 days before we had those 30 points deducted, when we only had half a dozen players registered. With about 10 days towards the new season at the time, so that was a little bit of a baptism of fire for us. And I think at the time, the only emotion we were really feeling was one of probably anger because of those points deductions. It's the biggest ever deduction delivered to one club in I think in world football, actually. And bearing in mind we had the 10 points in the previous season too, so that's 40 points deduction we had over a 2-year period. So once we've got past that little bit of anger stage, then it was a real emotion of determination, of grit and determination, a little bit of siege mentality, getting that from supporters and everybody involved. And then, I think it took a good 2-3 years to really put out those fires as such that the club was left in. It was a real terrible state when we took over. And we really had to kind of nurse back the business as such before we could really move forward on the pitch.
But Gary, that anger is still driving you. It's still important. I mean, where we sit and you look to the left and you can see the fans banner in the corner about the FA betrayed, was it 2008? Every chant is 30 points. I won't sort of sing the rest of it. And but it's clearly driving you. And is it something that you talk about on a regular basis, or is it just something that's there?
Both. I think it's a part of our DNA, Henry. I think you visited us a few times, and I think you've got that actually, there's two elements to this. Number one, yes, there's an anger. I mean, it's very controlled. We really still feel that there's a sense of injustice as to what was delivered upon Luton Town at that time. Clearly football was set out to punish a football club, whoever that was. We happen to be, effectively a poorly run club, and there's no.
But you did break the rules, Gary, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely cheated. The previous owners, I would say, but the football club cheated, and we took that responsibility. So absolutely, but 40 points in 2 years, I think it is clear that football wanted to correct itself at that time, as it still needs to now, by the way. And I'm sure we'll get onto that, yeah. But it's a part of the DNA. So yes, I'm talking about it now, and I feel a little bit of venom because we lived through that. It's a real scar in our lives, But I think the way we've harnessed it is all positive, and even to the extent positive for us, I would say. Certainly not necessarily positive for the FA, but we have conversations with the FA about it as well, by the way. But it's certainly positive for us, and it has become a real strong part of our DNA from board level to supporter level. But
you talk about your DNA. Of course, in your DNA is that you weren't a club who came from non-league back to the top. You were previously a club who did play at the top level. You won the League Cup for goodness sake. You beat Arsenal in a final. You were a team who actually, in the old days when I had my Subbuteo teams, was one of the great strips, and you were a team who was quite revered around the country, really, for your battling qualities, a small club who fought at the top level. So you're really, in many ways, just getting back to where you were before.
Yeah, I had the paint as well for my Subbuteo.
Yeah. Great strip.
Yeah,
Great strip.
Yeah, exactly. It's the right colour, exactly. So we, you are dead right. I mean, we do. I mean, Luton's a fantastic working class football town. It's football through and through, and we still ourselves consider Luton as a big-ish club. I say big-ish. We're clearly not of the level of a Man United who are playing today scale, but we see ourselves as a big club. And if you're looking at a population of Luton itself in almost approaching 250,000 people, with a really good catchment, we're the only professional sports club in Bedfordshire. So we've got our district, we've got our region, and I think the Luton following within that region is really, really strong. You don't actually see that many, Arsenal, Tottenham, Barcelona shirts around. There's an awful lot of Luton shirts on the parks on Sunday.
Gary, what does it mean? I can understand what it means emotionally to the town, but what does it mean economically to have Luton Town being effectively, and the town advertised to the world through the Premier League?
It's huge. In fact, actually, we're just doing a little bit of a joint study on that with our council. Not just Luton Town in the Premier League versus the EFL, but also Luton Town moving into our new stadium, Power Court, which we will have work started on within the next 12 months. So that study's just started. So I'll know the precise answer on that actually for you, Henry, in about 2 months' time. But it will run into hundreds of millions, I think, on an annual basis. This is magnificent for the football for the town. Not just great for the. One of the reasons why we do this actually is to support the town and the communities in this district, in this region, and that's really, really important, because that is also a part of our DNA.
You must be one of the few clubs who've actually moved closer in to the town. Is that right? The substation's moving this week at Power Court, so it's beginning to take shape.
Yeah, work is starting. Yeah. I'm not completely in control of UK Power Networks. They are starting in the next couple of weeks. Yeah,
Gary, just going back to the fact that you feel the 40 points was an injustice, just quickly to go back to that. You say you're still talking about it. You still talk the FA. What are you going to gain still talking about that? Are you still fighting for compensation or something? What's
no, that's long gone. No, not that, Sean. I mean, I think actually it's now got to, with certain individuals, it's now got down to a fairly comical level about the songs we sing. To be honest, it's I mean, the waters have passed, and an awful lot of people that were the FA at the time, and certainly the Football League have kind of departed. One way or another, and so we actually have a very, very good relationship with the FA Football League, and I'd like to think now the Premier League. We're actually, one of the things we were determined to do, or to be, once we had taken custodianship in 2008, was to be a model club, to be a club that was respected by people, and for good reason. So, hence the reason why we want to operate our football club sustainably, financially, but also good contributors to our society in so many ways. And because of those reasons, I think we've probably harnessed a really good relationship with the FA now.
Gary, just to clarify, are people at the FA complaining about what the fans are chanting about the 30 points?
No, in fairness, never actually. And I think, in fairness, I think a lot of people understand it actually at the FA.
Gary, we'll get on to more of this after the break, but you do, of course, play Man United at home today. There's a couple of stories around the papers today about Erik ten Hag saying how FFP has robbed them of being able to sign Harry Kane, and meant they're only able to play players who've come through their academy because they couldn't spend 100 million on Harry Kane. You must have the world's smallest violin out when you hear that complaint.
Yeah. We're playing players from their academy, actually, probably making more of them. And Henry, thank you for the article on Ted and Mengi this week. It was a superb article.
We did one as well, Gary.
Sorry, Sean. Yeah.
What a great ambassador he is for your club, and how passionate he is about Luton Town.
I mean, he's a terrific lad, actually, fantastic lad, and what a talent, and I think that was just a simple case of, I think we saw more in Ted than Manchester United did, and so Man United, I don't comment on other clubs generally, but, I don't think anybody, certainly of those levels where they've been used to European funding coming in, can really look at financial fair play as a reason for injuries occurring. But I mean, we also have a number of injuries. We've got some long-termers too. So I think we're all in a similar boat on that front. But we have strong opinions at Luton about how how clubs should be run sustainably, and they're not necessarily aligned with many other football clubs in the Premier League, and that's fine. We're not necessarily all for an equal budget or anything. Man United should absolutely spend a large factor more than us, because they've got a much greater turnover, and we're very happy with that. But I don't think we'll ever really be blaming P&S or financial fair play for injuries or any players that we couldn't sign in any transfer window.
Gary, you said in your programme notes for the Sheffield United game that you hoped, and I quote, that you hoped that punishments for financial misconduct can be dealt with almost in real time, rather than having cases drag on for months or even years. I mean, you go into these Premier League meetings. Why is it taking so long, particularly with Manchester City?
I know literally nothing about the Man City case. I think the one thing, with respect to the Premier League and Man City, of course, on that, is that's been dealt with very discreetly and should be. But clearly it has taken its time, and I think it'd be better for the club involved and for the league, and certainly for every other club, and certainly for supporters, that if punishments, if a club was in some way rogue, or it actually there were some misdemeanors that occurred during particular time, then those punishments should certainly happen during the season within which they were caused, if possible. I understand the reasons why not, but I think a lot of the meetings recently are within the Premier League and further up in UEFA actually are trying to correct this issue anyway. So I think that is certainly the future.
I mean, City obviously deny all the charges, but you would like to see, if there are charges, but it being done or sort of sorted out within the season that it pertains to.
I think you can't look back. So whatever's happened has happened, and that will be dealt with accordingly amongst those powers that be. But going forward, I mean, if we as a football club fail to pay our players for 3 months running next season, then I would expect us to get a points deduction next season.
Gary, you mentioned before the break that you weren't one for going back over the past particularly, and going forward you wanted charges dealt with during the season. But City's alleged misdemeanours go back a long way. I mean, are you saying we should just wipe the slate clean and move on, or are you saying that they should be dealt with if they're guilty?
No, I think any club, this isn't about Man City, this is any club that's being found guilty of misdemeanours should certainly be charged appropriately. We feel we were charged certainly more than appropriately. So I think, but what I'm saying is, I think what is the past from now, from today's date, or certainly from this summer, should be dealt with certainly under the regulations that existed at that particular time.
Where do you stand with Everton, who are obviously rivals for you at the bottom end of the table, and were they to be deducted more points, or say this punishment was reduced, is going to affect you? What do you think should happen there?
I'll be honest, this is also probably relates to, I guess you can ask about Nottingham Forest and any others that could be docked points also this season. We want to stay up without anybody getting any points. We actually, we've got a league table both at our head office and actually at the training ground, which takes all points away, because you never know what's going to happen during the course of the season, whether Everton might find some of those 10 points coming back or not. So, so currently we're actually firmly in the bottom three, right? So, you've given Everton
their points back from in your league table.
In our league table, yeah, Everton are 10 points higher than there actually, yeah. So we actually want to survive without anyone having any points deductions, and I think an ideal world, certainly no supporter, and certainly we as a football club, we don't want to see any other football club docked points because ideally, in an ideal world, then we really don't want to see football clubs actually break the rules.
Mm.
But if they have, then they do need appropriate punishment.
Because Gary, you must spend your whole life trying to balance the books, and you've got a starting lineup. I read that it's about £10 million that it cost you, and you just think of the sort of the players that others are lavishing, so that clubs are lavishing on their players. You presumably want complete, and people talk about financial fair play, but it has to be fair play. And even if there is sympathy for Everton and Forest, there also has to be even more sympathy, I guess, for those who do balance the books.
I think that's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, this isn't about us being, trying to portray that we are whiter than white or anything. We're not perfect by any means. Certainly from a point of view of financial sustainability, we were on a tight ship. And I think taking a stat from the time we got promoted from that season, we got promoted from the conference into League Two to the end of this year, we will have a positive balance on our P&L. And I think that is really important to understand, because I think that's how football should be run. I think that's how businesses should be run. So from that perspective, those clubs that actually, it makes me laugh actually, we're talking about profits and sustainability. It should really be loss and sustainability, because profit is almost impossible to capture. And I've suggested this before. And clubs should absolutely be rewarded almost for making a profit. So not necessarily in terms of points or anything like that, but there should be some kind of reward for making profits over a period of time. But in response to your question, Henry, I think what we're really waiting for now, I think, is a restructure of those rules. We're Premier League and as I say, falling onto UEFA and the Football League and the EFL and the FA, all involved with the whole restructure of how football effectively runs itself from a sustainability perspective.
Gary, why is there a delay from the Premier League's end about the new deal and sort of sending money down the divisions? Because in a way, Luton Town embody why the Premier League should be supporting the pyramid, because of your fantastic rise.
Yeah, I guess we've lived through 5 divisions in the last 10 years, so therefore there's probably not another club that's got a better perspective in some ways, Henry. Actually, that we do passionately care about the pyramid and keep retaining that structure. As to why there's a seemingly delay, I mean, I would say that things have to happen in a certain order, and if you think that there's an awful lot been going on this year. There have been a lot of discussions going on this year. I probably can't go any further than that, but there's a lot of activity at the moment too. There is a real desire to get a deal done. But things like, for example, the new broadcast deal for Premier League only really was signed and sealed a short time ago, and it'd be really difficult to do anything until that was actually known. So no excuses. I think we've now, time is now good, to actually get that done, because I think when we're a football league, a championship club, and when we're a League One club, and we're a League Two club, we were rattling the cage a little bit, saying, "Come on, pass some more money down, because it's inequitable."
Okay, well, meanwhile, Gary, on the pitch, I'm reading all the pieces with interest this morning about how in 1992 you spoiled Man United winning the title. Steve Bruce a bit upset about the fact they only drew 1-1, Mick Harford scoring a goal. And it's always good, and it shows the progress you've made in recent years when you've got Man United coming to town, isn't it?
Childhood dreams, this is exactly what all our supporters have been dreaming of for years. And I think actually a lot of our supporters would probably have never thought that this would be a day when they'd see Man United coming to Kenilworth Road and anything but a cup draw. But here we are, effectively as peers today, and two massively different clubs in terms of scale and turnover and size. But actually, we are today, when we enter cross that white line, we are peers.
Well, why is Rob Edwards so good?
He fits us, Henry, I think we like to think that we've got quite a good ethical code amongst the structure of our organisation. Rob's a superb human being. He's got a real human touch to him, and I think this is the thing when we compare Luton with a Man United or Luton with any other club that spend an awful lot more money. I think money can often buy talent, it can often buy technical ability, but it doesn't necessarily buy you character. And that's the same, not just about Rob, all of our players. We really buy into the right type of character, the appropriate type of character for a Luton Town model. And really Rob epitomises that. And I've got to say, actually, our staff too, this is, I think, quite a lot of time, and I'm sure Rob won't disagree with this actually at all, but quite a lot of the time that the football manager is heralded to be the leader of the ship, and of course he is, but actually you can't do that without acknowledging the staff, the backup staff that he and we have at the football club, the likes of Richie and Trolls and such, who contribute greatly to effectively the structure that we've got and the success. I say success. We have no success at the moment, but the slight glimmer of hope of success that we've got right now.
Gary, this really should have been the first question. How's Tom Lockyer?
Yeah, thank you. Tom is fine. I think he's at the game today. He's doing a little bit of media, I think, today actually for the first time. He's getting some really good treatment. We're getting quite close to knowing exactly what the situation is, and but in terms of spirits, Tom's fantastic. Again, another great character, another great human. We love Tom, obviously, and Tom again is another captain of ours who epitomises the team, the squad, and it's actually really good to have seen him a couple of times in the last few weeks. And we're hoping towards the end of the season we'll see him a little bit more. Yeah,
we wish Tom all the best for his continued recovery. Gary, it's been a delight to have you on the show this morning. Wish you all the best for this afternoon's home game against Man United.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.